Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session. We're glad to inform you that we have almost 530 registered attendees today, so we're glad that the topic is really of high interest in the market. Today's session is called SoutH2 Corridor, a new opportunity for bringing hydrogen to Europe. I am Daria Buonfiglio, Head of Communications and Strategic Marketing at Green North Advisory, and I will be your moderator today. I've been asked to give you some housekeeping rules. So the webinar is being recorded and you'll receive the recording and the slides in the coming days. If you're on Zoom, there are two chats. One is for introduction. So please feel free to say hi, where you're from, what company you work with, and why you're here, why you're interested in this infrastructure. And then the other chat is a Q&A box, so please use it to send us questions for our speakers at any time during the webinar. If you're following us on YouTube, there is one single chat, both for intros and for questions. Now let's meet today's guest. So I'm delighted to be joined by Nicolas Jennison from Snam and Carlo Bardini from the Ministry of Environment and Energy Security. Let's start with introduction. Nicolas, thank you for being here. It's great to have you with us. Could you start by telling us a bit about yourself and your role at Snam, please?
Thanks, Daria. Thanks a lot for having me today. It's a pleasure to tell you a little bit about the project that we've been developing for a few years now, which is the SoutH2 Corridor. So I'm a senior manager at Snam, and I'm looking after our international hydrogen activities, both from a kind of project and business development perspective.
Thank you, Nicolas. And Carlo, now to you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us as well. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Carlo Bardini. I work for the Italian Ministry of the Environment and the Energy Security. And I'm the head of the international and European activities of the Energy Department. And we have been involved in this, in the promotion of and the support to the SoutH2 project. We will see this better later on. And yes, this has been one of the most important tasks we faced in the last, let's say, couple of years.
Thank you. One last thing before we dive into the discussion. So this webinar is part of a lead up to the conference that will be taking place in Bologna next July 2nd and 3rd. Both Nicolas and Carlo will be speaking there, and I'm going to be there as well. So you're very free to join us. Now, just a brief introduction to the topic. You all know today we're going to talk about one of the most important energy infrastructure initiatives underway in Europe, the SoutH2 Corridor. It is a major project to transport green hydrogen from North Africa. So it's going to produce in North Africa and then transport it to demand centers across Italy, Austria, and Germany. And we know that hydrogen has a big role in decarbonizing, especially hard-to-abate sectors. But there are a lot of challenges in these sectors, including with respect to production and logistics, and that's why we're here. So to better understand the opportunities and challenges of this ambitious infrastructure with our guest today. So Nicolas, my first question is for you. I would like to ask you to give us a general overview of the project. So to dig a little bit deeper on where the hydrogen will be produced, what is the construction timelines, and I know you will be working both on upgrading existing infrastructure and building new asset, but can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, of course. I will share a few slides just because I think it's useful to have a visual representation of the project whilst I speak. So hopefully you can see the screen.
Yes.
Here we go. So just a first introductory slide for a description about who Snam is and our geographical footprint. So we're Europe's leading gas infrastructure owner and operator. And we have at our core we operate as the Italian transmission system operator, which means that we own and operate the high pressure transmission pipelines in Italy. But as you can see from the map, we have quite a wide geographic footprint with really a pan-European perspective. Really, the area of interest that I'd like to draw your attention to is the corridor that you can see, which we refer to as the South Corridor, which today works from a gas perspective in the sense that we have a lot of flows of natural gas from Algeria through Tunisia, through Italy, and then onwards towards Central Europe, so Austria and Germany. And as you can see, Snam is actually a shareholder in a lot of the pipelines that go all the way from North Africa to Central Europe. And this is really important in terms of developing a project from a hydrogen perspective in a coordinated manner. So we work very closely with our associates today from a gas perspective and tomorrow from a hydrogen perspective. A few key figures that we have a total of nearly 38,000 kilometers of transportation network together with our associates, 20 BCM of storage and 22 BCM of regasification. On the gas side, we've done a lot of work in the past 2-3 years to increase the flexibility of the system, and the storage and regasification really is a huge asset to the European energy system. Onwards now to the topic of interest, which is the SoutH2 Corridor, and to answer a little bit the questions that you posed. So the SoutH2 Corridor is a collaboration initiative between Snam, TAG, GCA, and Bionet. So TAG and GCA are the two transmission system operators of Austria, and Bionet is the transmission system operator that operates in Bavaria in southern Germany. So we team together with these partners and have been developing the SoutH2 Corridor. Recently, 2 years ago, we were inserted into the PCI list. So that means that we were recognized by the European Union as a project of common interest. And this is really a strong recognition from Europe that this corridor is one of the main import corridors for hydrogen into Europe. There are other corridors forming, and all the routes really are complementary because the market is significant. And what you can see a little bit from the map that I was showing as well is that you've got regions which are today industrial heartlands of Europe. I'm talking about industrial poles in southern Italy, in northern Italy, and Austria, and southern Germany. But especially in those northern regions, you've got strong decarbonization targets, but actually these are renewably constrained regions in the sense that you can install renewables and produce hydrogen, but it's not at all as competitive as doing it in southern Europe and in North Africa. So this is one of the main benefits of the corridor is leveraging competitive production and a largely existing infrastructure, which I'll speak in more detail about later. But on average, we have 65% repurposed infrastructure from Tunisia through to Germany, and a production cost of approximately 0.6 euros per kilo. And just to finish on this slide, the project is promoted, let's say, by the transmission system operators that I was speaking about earlier. It's also supported by a vast number of other partners that are involved not only on the transportation, but also on the production and the offtake, because in the end, this project is one that covers the full value chain. So you need some companies involved on the production, which means developing renewables and electrolyzers that then connect into the pipeline that we are developing. And then we transport it to the off-takers, and the off-takers are the end users, really, which today, the key sectors are industrial sectors, for example, steel making, ceramic, refineries, and so on. And tomorrow could also be, for example, the transportation sector, the the domestic heating sector, and so on. I will just take you through a couple more items I wanted to mention really on another important aspect, which is that we're talking about pipeline transportation. And it's been widely recognized in the literature that pipeline-based transportation is the most efficient way of transporting hydrogen from A to B over the distances that we're considering here. It also is a project that builds on a very successful gas partnership, in the sense that the existing pipelines that run from Algeria to Italy were constructed in the 1980s and 90s, and we have a very solid partnership with our colleagues in Algeria and Tunisia. And so the hydrogen project really builds on that, and we have a solid basis to move this forward. And I think the other points here in terms of leveraging, repurposing, and efficient production, I've already mentioned. From just to give you a data point, a lot of literature references point towards approximately 4 euros per kilo on the production side, and we believe that we can transport for 0.6 euros per kilo. So as you can see, a lot of the cost is actually on the production. My final slide just for this introductory question is on our kind of current activities and what we're working on next. So we concluded last year a market test, which gave us a very solid understanding of who the users of hydrogen will be and where it will be produced, mostly focusing on Italy, but also internationally. We had over 100 companies participate, and the results are available on our website. We have been awarded Connecting Europe facility funding for the Italian hydrogen backbone. We were awarded a couple months ago a 24 million euro grant, which will be really fundamental for us driving forward the development of feasibility studies for the activities, both on the pipelines and the compression stations. And this will take us through to the end of 2026. And then finally, on the North Africa side, to complement the activities in Europe, so the project of common interest status, we're doing the same thing in North Africa and trying to obtain the status of project of mutual interest for this stretch in North Africa and in the Strait of Sicily. Back to you, Daria.
Thank you, Nicolas. So Carlo, now to you. Nicolas has already mentioned some of the countries that are involved in this important infrastructure. I'd like to ask you a bit more in more detail, what is the commitment of each of these countries?
Yeah, good morning. I also have some slides I try to share with you. No, if you can. Yeah.
Yes.
Can you?
Sorry, Carlo, just one thing before you start. I see that some of you are asking questions in the intro chat. Can you please use the Q&A box so that we know all the questions that are being posed during the webinar? Thank you, Carlo. Go ahead.
Yes, so thank you very much. I hope this can work. Yes, the project of the SoutH2 Corridor, of course, is a project brought forward by private companies, the Italian and the other TSOs, but it involves also a great commitment from governments and states which are interested by the corridor itself. And this is, as I will try and show you how an interesting collaboration has been in the end set up by 3 or 5 governments according to different moments of the collaboration in order to promote the corridor. This is really a sort of an experiment, as I called it, because it's something, as far as I know, quite new for this kind of infrastructure. Just a very quick wrap up of the main features of the corridor. In order to better try and talk of the collaboration of the governments. As we have heard before, the SoutH2 Corridor is a project for bringing hydrogen, renewable hydrogen produced in North Africa, mainly, but also in southern Italy, from production sites to Austria and Germany through Italy, hopefully also to Italy, to be used in Italy as well. The development of this corridor is key to the creation of the hydrogen backbone in Southern and Central Europe, and the capacity expected to be brought by the pipeline is a very high percentage of the target set by the Repower EU plan, which is in 2030 to import 10 million tons, and the capacity expected input from the SoutH2 Corridor is 4 million tons per year of hydrogen. And yeah, the route is important because it shows which countries are involved in this project. And we had, of course, Italy because of the Italian H2 backbone promoted by Snam. Then we have Austria with two segments of the pipeline promoted by the two Austrian TSOs. And then there is also Germany. And for the part of the infrastructure going from Austria to Germany. There is, of course, then the section in Africa, in Algeria and Tunisia. And then there is the further section leading from Africa to Sicilia by going through the sea. And in the end, there will probably be in the future an alternative route for going to Germany through Switzerland. So this is these are the countries which have been involved in different measures in the institutional support for the infrastructure. But first of all, the institutional support was the first one was of a more traditional fashion. Is the support needed for applying and for also for getting to the status of PCI and for applying for the CEF funds. We have already heard that the project got the different branches of the project were awarded the status of PCI, and then also two of them got, and one of these is the Italian one, got the Connecting Europe Facility funds for feasibility studies. And then there was a new, the list of the PCI was done in 2023, and now there is a new application, 2024. Again, there was support letters from the member states interested, and also from the African states for the application of the Sea Corridor part, which is the part that's going through the African countries and then from there to Sicilia. And this is a new application for a project of mutual interest. And as I was saying before, this is, let's say, the more traditional way of support, which is writing letters of support for these projects, and also getting the SoutH2 Corridor also received in last December the label of Global Gateway Project. In this case as well, there was a support from member states. In this case, it was Austria who led the proceedings to get to the the label. Now, as I was saying before, in fact, the collaboration, the international cooperation of governments for this, in support of this infrastructure, was not limited to the, let's say, more traditional support, but also there was a more intense collaboration of member states, and to grant the support of 3 and then 5 governments to this project, and in a way that it's through, I would say, institutional experiment, because the 3 EU governments involved, which means Italy, Germany, and Austria, dedicated themselves to support the project with regular and structured cooperation, facing all the aspects of the products. And then also the 2 North African countries were also invited to participate. We will see briefly later on when, and then also Switzerland is invited as an observer in all the activities, because as I was saying before, maybe in the future there will be a further branch leading from Italy to Germany through Switzerland. And well, the political support to the project led to the signing of 2 statements. One among the 3 European countries, and another one also with Tunisia and Algeria. The first one in May 2024 in Brussels, in the context of the Energy Council, in the presence of the Energy Commissioner, and the 3 ministers signed a joint statement of support, focusing first of all on the governance of this collaboration, which was something completely new, as I was saying before. And then later on in January, we organized in Rome, January 21st, with this ministerial summit, with all the ministries invited, together with European representatives from the European Commission and Switzerland as observer again. And in Rome also was signed a joint declaration of intent of the 5 countries in support of the project. And on that occasion, we also had a business forum, which was held along the ministerial summit, in which with the participation of many companies from the 5 countries involved. And this is not, this was as far as the direct involvement of ministers is concerned, but we also, the institutional experiment also went further on, and we got these 2 trilateral meetings in Munich and Vienna. And then there was another meeting in Rome in July 2024. These meetings are called working groups. And in these groups, as it was established in Rome in last July, we have a special governance of the working group, which includes the participation of the representative of the TSOs and the regulators. Switzerland again is involved, and there was another recent, the most recent of these meetings was in Stuttgart on last March the 7th. And in these groups, there is a debate on many aspects of related to the promotion of the corridor, like financing and regulation and permitting, all this, let's say, the topics that can be of interest for governments in dealing with the promotion of the corridor. So this is just a couple of words also on what private individuals, they are also organizing themselves, and it's because what is interesting in this project is that in fact it's not only the construction of the infrastructure, but the setting up of the whole economic sector, And so there is the need to establish the production in Africa, and then also the off-taking in Europe. So we see that there was a memorandum of understanding signed by private companies in October 2024, and for studying the feasibility and profitability of the green hydrogen production in Algeria. And then also we have initiatives on the off-taking side. On last October, the Italian Association of Companies, Industrial Companies, Confindustria, organized together with the ministry an important occasion of meeting for the companies interested in the corridor and in the off-taking of hydrogen in Italy. And there is also a very interesting alliance formed in Austria by potential off-takers of hydrogen, and which established the model that in Germany and also in Italy could be replicated. There's a whole movement of companies setting up a sector. Governments are deeply committed in trying and support this movement, and this is also, let's say, moving around the construction of the infrastructure. So I think the major point that I would like to make is that the infrastructure is important, but what we're talking about is even more than the simple building of the infrastructure. Is the building of the whole sector, and there is an important movement and commitment to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo. Now back to you, Nicolas. Thank you. I see that you're already answering some of the questions. Now the live question that I would actually ask to you is if you can go into a bit further details about this project, and especially the parts tied up to the green hydrogen production. Nicolas, you're on mute.
There we go.
Okay.
I will again refer to some slides just to support here, because I think it's again helpful to see some logos of the companies whom we are working with, and a little bit more detail on the infrastructure configuration in North Africa, which is where we expect a large part of the production to come from. So, as I was mentioning, the production in North Africa is expected to be both in Tunisia and in Algeria. If I start on the Tunisian side, we've been in contact over a number of years with companies who are developing production projects. So typically these are very large scale, so gigawatt scale, combination of solar PV plus onshore wind and desalination initiatives. So they are desalinating seawater to get fresh water, which is then transported to the electrolyzer, and using combination of solar and wind, generating a current to split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen is injected into the pipeline, and the oxygen has other uses. This is really, in a few words, kind of the concept on the production side, feeding into the pipeline. And there are several different companies developing projects in Tunisia. You can see the logos on the right-hand side, which refer to public announcements that the Tunisian government has made regarding these projects. So you can see lots of different companies in various consortiums developing very large-scale projects. And we're talking about multi-gigawatt projects. So, you know, considering the status of the renewables market in these countries, this is ambitious. But considering that we're talking about filling entire pipelines, we need to reach scale for this project to work efficiently. On the other side, we've got Algeria, and really what's also answering one of the questions that came up in the live Q&A was, from a diversification of supply, this makes a lot of sense, right? Because we can rely on production in Tunisia, in Algeria, and in southern Italy. So we've got 3 countries that can produce hydrogen at competitive cost, and that's also one of the main benefits of the corridor. But back to a little bit more detail on Algeria, we signed with several other partners last year a memorandum of understanding. So with Corridor, which is our associate on the midstream side, Sonatrach, which is the national energy company of Algeria, Sonelgaz on the electricity side, Verbund, which is the Austrian energy company, leading energy company, and VNG, which is one of the leading energy companies in Germany. And together we are studying feasibility studies for the development of the Algerian leg of the project. As you can see, we've got companies in that consortium that cover really end to end. So you've got production, midstream, and offtake all in one, which allows us to move forward in a very integrated approach. So hopefully this gives you some flavor for what we're working on the production side, how they work. And in Algeria, we're targeting, the Algerian state is targeting volumes of 40 terawatt hours by 2040. So we're slowly working towards this objective. And if I can, just going back to one of the other questions on the use of the existing pipelines, I wanted to share this slide, which gives you a representation of a 2-phase buildup with gradual capacity increments for the Italian hydrogen backbone project. As you can see, the base map in blue is the existing high-pressure gas infrastructure. And overlaid, we've got in green the hydrogen infrastructure. The solid lines represent repurposed infrastructure, whereas the dotted lines represent new infrastructure. As you can see, we've got approximately 60% in terms of length repurposed, plus the construction of new compression stations where necessary, and a gradual increment in the capacity. So the kind of first target capacity for phase 1 is 70 terawatt hours, and the phase 2 is 147. So these are very big volumes. And this is also a map and a project that is constantly being reevaluated every year with respect to the evolving gas context and so on. And in addition, we're developing let's say the western branch of the project. Mr. Bardini earlier was mentioning the integration of Switzerland as an observer into the institutional side. We also have been working on let's say the commercial side, and we signed last year a memorandum of understanding with Fluxys and with OGE to develop this side.
Thank you, Nicolas. And I see that there is one other question asking about potential other countries involved in this infrastructure. Slovenia was mentioned in one of the questions. Would you like to answer this?
So Slovenia, in the end, what we're doing is developing one component of a much wider project, which is the European hydrogen backbone, which is a very large-scale, fully integrated hydrogen network. I mean, the end objective is to get to what we have on the gas side, where really it's a very liquid, full functioning gas market with interconnected pipelines between all the countries. Now, that will take a long time to achieve, right? So what we're doing at the moment is working on different regions which can individually develop that project. The most and these are, let's say, the most mature initiatives. So there are about four main corridors of import into Europe today. The SoutH2 Corridor is the one from the south. But of course, as with the gas side, we are Snam very open should the market conditions require it to partner up with different transmission system operators to broaden the grid.
Thank you. And I would also like to take another question from the audience. So I'm going to read it to you. From an energy security point of view, how can affect the government stability in the production countries? Where are these measures to minimize risks? Nicolas, I know that you've asked to answer this question live.
Yeah, I'm happy to share a few thoughts. I wonder if Mr. Bardini wanted to share a few words on the government side. Happy to, whoever, I don't mind.
Well, if may I jump in on this, I just want to say a couple of words also on the previous question about the other countries who can be involved in the project, because the activity of the governments towards the project has been very well, I would say. It has been acknowledged by many countries, and other countries approached us in order to participate, like Switzerland already does. And here there is a question, because as Nicolas was saying before, in the future, hopefully there will be an integrated network of hydrogen, and this will, of course, make it possible to join other countries to this to the project, and to have new branches bringing or taking hydrogen to and from the SoutH2. For the moment, however, as long as the project remains actually a point-to-point connection, we want to better think on the participation of other countries, because of course you need countries that put hydrogen into the corridor, and not only countries who want to take this hydrogen. We will see later on, if we will have time, that the Italian strategy for hydrogen also takes into account hydrogen imported from North Africa. So we want to be sure that at least a sufficient part of the hydrogen will also be left for the Italian needs. And so there are other countries, and Slovenia is one of them. But there are talks, but still we're not at such an advanced level as we are with the, not to speak of Austria and Germany, but also with Switzerland. And the second point was about the
government stability. How are you going to
government stability? I would say that this is exactly the reason for trying and involve Algeria and Tunisia in this operation, in this project, also of coordinating governments. We would like to be sure this is what we will try and do. They already signed this joint declaration of intent in order to promote the infrastructure. Of course, promoting the infrastructure means that they will have also to somehow support or facilitate the production of hydrogen to be transported by the infrastructure. So this is actually the aim of one of the major aims of the effort we're doing to bring this country to have them on board in this and this support to the infrastructure. We hope that we will be able to offer a secure environment for investors, or at least a relatively secure environment for investors who will want to participate in this, let's say, this adventure of producing hydrogen and sending it to Europe is a brand new adventure. We think we're quite confident that it will be possible. I mean, the answers we get from Algerian, Tunisian counterparts are quite positive. They came to Rome for the ministerial meeting. We have regular meetings with the people from those governments. So the prospects, it seems, they are good. Of course, it's always better to let's see. I mean, let's see what happens. But I repeat, we're working for this, and we're confident that that will be possible. Thanks.
Okay, and before we take other question from the audience, I wanted to ask you one last question, Carlo. Since we're talking about political support for this strategy, I wanted to ask you about Italy. So the ministry you work for has recently, last November, presented the Italian strategy on hydrogen. So my question to you is, how does infrastructure fit into Italy's broader strategy on hydrogen?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this question. And I also would like to use, if possible, some slides to better illustrate what we're thinking about for the future of hydrogen in Italy. First of all, the strategy is a very wide representation of the way the ministry sees the future of hydrogen. And it's articulated in different time horizons, short, medium, and long term. And above all, it deals with a number of cross-cutting issues for the development of hydrogen that need to be addressed in parallel. And they are very briefly, I mean, the major lines of reasoning of the strategy. First of all, the importance of hydrogen for the decarbonization of end uses. We think that for hard-to-abate industry and some parts of some kind of mobility sectors like heavy transport, aviation, it will be very important to switch to hydrogen in the future if you want to actually decarbonize these activities. Then another important aspects of hydrogen is that can be integrated to the energy system, especially to electricity. It's possible to use to go back and forth from hydrogen to electricity, and this allows to store the storage of electricity through the use of hydrogen. Then we think that there are opportunities for from this building of a new sector with opportunities for new and competitive supply chain, for the development of manufacturing companies in the EU and in Italy as well. We think that hydrogen can increase the security and by reducing dependencies and diversifying the supply of energy. We also think that we can realize. I'm sorry if you hear some voices in the background, and then we think that this is a part of the wider project of making Italy an energy hub due to the location in the Mediterranean, and this SoutH2 Corridor would be an important part of this program. And then we know that for doing all these tasks, the certification system and the advancement in research and innovation will be crucial. Very briefly, we have, I wrote down here a couple of numbers. We consume today 1.5 million of equivalent tons of hydrogen, which almost exclusively in the industrial sectors as a feedstock for refining and chemicals. We think that the first switch in the 2030 target will be to move towards a production of hydrogen from renewables, from green hydrogen, and by 2050, we hope instead that there will be a wider part of hydrogen used also in industry and transport. Here is a very quick explanation of this. You can see in the first step, just trying to introduce green hydrogen, and later on to expand on the different uses. And one important thing is that in the strategy, there is also two scenarios, different scenarios, in which the first one, according to the development of the, and this is actually what depends on the actual development of the infrastructure of the SoutH2, because if the infrastructure actually will be built, we can have a scenario with little or relatively little share of domestic production, let's say 20%, while on the contrary, it might be necessary to have a much higher percentage of domestic production. And you can see in the slide there are different costs associated with the different solutions, because of course it will be much more expensive for us, and there will be many more investments required for building electrolyzers and renewables in Italy instead of having them in North Africa. And in the end, the strategy and the idea that we have for the development of hydrogen in Italy, first of all, will be necessary for the decarbonization, will not be the only tool, but will be an important one, especially for hard-to-abate sectors and for industry and transportation. And again, also hydrogen from renewable will be key, but we also plan to have recourse to other forms of hydrogen, like the so-called blue hydrogen, which means hydrogen produced from fossils, but with the carbon capture and storage. And currently there are it's quite expensive to produce renewable hydrogen, but we hope there are prospects for the reduction of costs, also through the relocation of production where renewables are much less expensive, like in Northern Africa. There are measures and support measures are necessary. We are trying to take them. We plan to take them for the beginning of investments, know-how, employment. But we're also confident that there are important opportunities in the international hydrogen market that can be seized by means of this effort. This is, in essence, the content of the hydrogen strategy.
Thank you. Nicolas, or Carlo, is there any question you would like to take from the Q&A box? Or otherwise, I think that probably could be good if, Nicolas, you could go back to the timeline for construction, because there is a question asking when is the corridor due for completion, and what do you see as the biggest challenges in getting the corridor operational?
Yeah, so there are quite a few questions that came up. I think I can try and get through a bit quickly. But I can start on the timeline side. So our target is entry into operation in the early 2030s for the Italian hydrogen backbone and North Africa project. There's a lot to do. I mean, you've seen the scale of this project, and you've heard from Carlo Bardini around the government complexities. I mean, we're talking about a project that involves 5 to 6 different countries. Just from a European perspective, it's complicated. Even just dealing with one country is complicated, in the sense that you need to have clear rules and regulations in place. The transmission system operator for hydrogen needs to be defined. And then Then you've got the complexity of doing that at the same speed between two different countries. And then on top of that, you need to layer in production and offtake and all the different actors being ready at the same time. So we do a lot of coordination work. And at Snam, we see ourselves, one of our main roles is one of a coordinator, because we're uniquely positioned between the production and the offtake. So we have a privileged position of knowing where the production projects are, knowing their status, and interfacing with them, and ensuring that the criteria for the producers, i.e., the conditions that they need, can be met on the transportation side, and the same is true between the transportation and the offtake. So hopefully that provides a bit of shines a bit of light on the timeline and the challenges. Then some of the other questions. So why is the transportation cost low relative to the production cost? Transportation cost is low because we leverage a lot of repurposed infrastructure, and because pipelines are a very efficient way of transporting hydrogen. If you compare to shipping, to maritime transport, be it ammonia or other carriers, pipeline is very competitive. On the question regarding, in Algeria, who will be doing the production, hopefully the previous slide answered this in part through the memorandum of understanding between Snam, Sonatrach, Sonelgaz, Verbund, and VNG. So these are the main partners involved. Of course, there may be other entrants into the Algerian market. This, I think, it would be best answered by the Algerians. In terms of the flexibility of the pipeline, so we've got a project which leverages, as I've said several times, repurposed infrastructure. So in Italy, we have 3 parallel pipelines for most of the gas grid, which gives us flexibility because we can progressively transition one pipeline at a time to hydrogen, hand in hand with the evolution of the market. And the same is true for the offshore stretch that connects Tunisia to Italy. We have 5 parallel offshore pipelines. So this gives us a lot of flexibility. In terms of the blending versus pure, the project that we're talking about, the SoutH2 Corridor, is a pure hydrogen project. We don't exclude that blending could be an enabler for the production market in the early years, but the focus of our initiative is on pure hydrogen transportation. In terms of the local demand in Algeria and Tunisia, I think it's a good question. What we've seen so far is that the market in Europe is a lot more mature, and the size of the market in Tunisia and Algeria is limited. That having been said, the development of the North Africa hydrogen backbone that I showed to you previously, which is a significant piece of infrastructure, 600 kilometers in length on the Tunisian territory, plus the pipelines that would be constructed or repurposed in Algeria, will certainly help the local market and will allow, for example, the textile market and the fertilizer markets are strong in Tunisia, and surely a green hydrogen production locally there could be very beneficial. So it's definitely an added benefit of the project. In terms of offtake agreements, I think the last question that I noted down from the chat last time I looked was that, on our side, what will we have as a transportation company? We will have a transportation agreement between ourselves and a shipper, so an entity that books transportation capacity on the network. Then, of course, offtake agreements would be in place between the producer and the offtaker, but our business model would be based upon transportation agreements and booked capacity on our pipeline. So we make available X gigawatt hours of transportation capacity per day, and shippers can book into that. This is what we're getting to. It's not yet available for hydrogen because we need to fulfill all the requirements that I was discussing earlier.
Thank you. Carlo, is there anything you'd like to add to what Nicolas has just said?
Yeah, it was, Nicolas already covered most of the questions. I maybe have two questions. I would be interested to say a couple of words about. The first one is about safety. And because the question of safety is a part of the wider question of building up all the rules for the hydrogen sector. We are working on that. First of all, we have to, we're starting from scratch. Just have to start from indicating the relevant regulation authority, which we think should be ARERA, but it currently has not been appointed by law yet. And there is a new regulation from the EU, which has to be implemented, and all the different aspects of the sector have to be implemented, and safety for sure will be one of them, but it's not the only one. Just to give you an idea of that what we're doing is well-founded on projects, and but very little on experience, and we have to build everything nearly from scratch. Although we have, as I was saying before, we have a strong commitment from both public and private stakeholders to rely on this new vector, a new energy sector. And the second one was about financial instruments and the contribution from the EU for this sector. I just wanted to mention this H2 global instrument that the Germans already use, and is a sort of as far as we understood, it's a sort of contribution from the state in order to fill the gap between the price that off-takers want to pay and the price that the producer, at which the producer will be able to supply the hydrogen. And we think that this could be a good starting point because, as I was saying before, the problem here is developing a new sector. So it's not only building infrastructure, but also supporting those who want to use this infrastructure, both for introducing and for off-taking the hydrogen. And this H2 global system might be, we have talks with the Commission. We would like to understand whether this can be also implemented at EU level. Yeah, we are open to all possibilities, and I repeat, this is one of the, for instance, one of the topics that we talk about in these group meetings with other colleagues from the Austrian and the German governments. I don't know if there are other questions in the meanwhile that came to me.
I think we covered pretty much all the items that were raised, and yeah, it's time to say goodbye. So thank you to Nicolas and to Carlo for being with us and for your insightful perspectives on this important infrastructure. Thank you all for joining us. Again, this webinar is just a preview of the conference that will be taking place in Bologna on July 2nd and 3rd. You can contact Maria for any details. Thank you again.